You're listening to the OMG Hour.
Welcome, everybody, to episode number 292 of the OMG Hour, recording today on April 19th, 2018. Of course, I am your host, Sean Evans, otherwise known as Zion Tane.
And I am Syd Bolton. See, Tycko, you have to go last.
I know. Just one. I was waiting. I was just asking. Nobody cleared that with me. But yes, last. I'm last. You go first.
You
go first.
You are last.
First. Syd,
I am Syd Bolton.
Syd, you go first. Syd, you
Tycko.
go first, okay?
Tycko.
Yeah. Sean.
I'm Syd Bolton, your gaming archaeologist and a guest co-host today, and I'm glad to be here. Everybody.
You're our Jeff today.
I'm your Jeff, exactly.
Okay, Tycko.
So
now.
I've got to pick on Tycko.
You can.
Yes. All right, Tycko, Mr. Second Place, here in the corner.
Yeah. Okay, that's it. You're done.
That's all I'm allowed to say.
That's No, you're going to be talking a lot today, Tycko, because you're the one who played the most things this week.
I know, but you told me I wasn't allowed to talk about all of them.
Well, we'll see. It depends on if you stop talking right now.
All right, fine.
Okay, good. First of all, before we get any further, I do want to send out a huge happy birthday to my youngest daughter, Sydney. She is 18 today. Guys, I now have a house full of adults. If I didn't feel old before, I do now.
You consider yourself an adult at this point?
Well, no, I guess that's a good point there, Tycko. So, Syd, thanks for joining us. Jeff was unable to join us this week. He's got some schmoozing and boozing to do at work this weekend, or today, apparently, is what I'm told. We don't know. That's the excuse he gave us anyway. So, he's out having a good time.
No problem.
And,
it's plausible.
Syd is here to join us, so thanks for joining us, Syd. In fact, Syd, why don't you start us off this week with the stuff you've been playing?
All right, so the first thing I'll mention, I don't think we're going to show the footage for this because I know you guys have been talking about Far Cry 5, but yes. I did finally finish the game.
Nice.
So I put in about 37 hours or so into Far Cry 5.
That doesn't seem like very much.
You know, I thought about it, and actually I think I spent almost twice that in Far Cry 4.
There's less hunting and crafting to do in 5, and I think that's what it is. Like the hunting down of animals and stuff like that, you spent a lot more in 4 doing, whereas you're just sort of doing the side missions and stuff like that. And you can really quickly jump from side mission to main mission in 5, because I finished about the same, about 35 hours I think was my end time too.
Yeah, and I didn't do all the side missions. There is still a few things to do, a few collectibles to get. Not too many, though. I mean, I did a lot of stuff. I did find the ending a little unexpected, and that's all I'll say about that. So,
okay. I'm expecting something unexpected, simply from... I think it was from what Faith said to my character when I completed her side of the story. She said something, and it's like, oh, I think that's sort of hinting to some kind of an ending I'm not expecting. So right. I don't know what it is, but something she said to me was like, okay, this is going to go where I don't expect it to. Yeah. So, I'm looking forward to that.
The other big thing, of course, that I've been fortunate enough to be playing and playing early, of course, is the new God of War.
Yes, tell me about this game.
Yes.
Wow. I mean, you guys have probably heard some of the early reviews on this are all coming back extremely high.
With 9s and 10s across the board.
9s and 10s across the board, absolutely. So we've basically got our Breath of the Wild for 2018 already.
Yeah.
So let's see if the user reviews try to take it down just because, it can't be that good. But guys, it's that good. I have been a God of War. I mean, I'm such a God of War fan. I've not only completed every single console game that you would expect. I replayed God of War 3 when it was remastered on the PS4, and I've even played the mobile version and beaten the mobile version of God of War. So, I mean, like the one that's on it's like one of those Java platform phones.
Wow.
Wow.
I've actually played that version of God of War. So I can definitely say that I am, able to say that I've played everything. A couple things about the game, and some of this you may have already heard. The game is surprisingly colorful, and you can see some of that in the footage that you're watching right now, where a lot of God of War kind of had a lot of monotone views, even of Kratos. He had the ashes of his family were sort of plastered to his skin, and that made him a little bit sort of paler in a lot of ways. But throughout this game, color actually plays a surprisingly large role, which is not something you would typically even think about saying for a God of War. Now, when you just saw there the axe coming back to my hand, that's like a Thor thing, right? And I got to tell you, that is probably the most satisfying feeling when you do that in the game, and how that works. It's just absolutely incredible. And
well, I think you can use that in battle, right? Like you can actually, you can throw the axe and you can actually leave it, and then if you pull it back at the right time, it'll go through your enemies on its way back.
It will. That the first time that happens to you, you're like, "Whoa, that is cool."
Yeah.
And then the other thing that is kind of interesting that you may have heard about is the fact that now you do have control over the camera, but the camera angle never ever varies from what you're doing. So unlike other God of War games where they were big set pieces that had, very specific cinematic views and cutscenes that changed, the angle, all that kind of stuff, that does not happen in this game. It is basically a constant single view from where you are and the type of views that you're seeing now throughout the entire game, which is, kind of like watching, what's that Michael Keaton movie, Birdman or whatever, where it was like, looks like it's one take.
They're calling it a single camera experience. So the camera never cuts to another scene. It never moves from where you are from the beginning of the game to the end. It is a single camera shot.
Right. So that is really interesting. And, I got to say, like, as someone, as I mentioned, played all the different God of War games, it is refreshing to have the game. Like, this is not a reboot. This is a completely, different game. It's not the same old, yet at the same time, you've still got lots of hack and slash going on, of course, as you can see. And this is very early on in the game. I didn't want to spoil anything for anybody. So this is right near the beginning. And it's amazing. And, I think the other thing that really has matured along with, us gamers in a sense is the storytelling in this game is a lot different than what we've come to know. I mean, obviously Kratos, it's no surprise or no spoil that he now has a son that he's responsible for. And so it's, Kratos is basically having a second chance at fatherhood in this game. And that's really, really great. And the way it works and it's just an incredibly satisfying experience. I don't know how else to really sum it up. It's everything that you've come to expect and love from earlier God of Wars in terms of it pushes the system, just like, in March 2005, the original God of War pushed the PS2, seemingly to the limit, although God of War 2 was even better. It's hard to imagine that a game like this could push the PS4 any further. I did play it on the Pro on a 4K TV, but still, it's very good looking on a regular PS4. Like, it's just amazing how it looks. Of course, the things that I like right here, you're actually seeing me going into a hidden area. And I'll actually have to look for these different the game doesn't hold your hand, but it does give you clues as to sort of find out what's going on. And one of the things I appreciated is that we sort of got used to like that God of War font and the way the menus looked and the way the games have felt in the past. That stuff is all gone. It's been redone, so from that standpoint, it looks like an entirely new game. And it is, you can tell that they've really rebuilt things. And
so the old games, there was a lot of real-time, what do they call it? We had to press the button at the right time.
Oh yeah, the QuickTime events.
The QuickTime events. Yeah. Are they gone?
I haven't encountered any so far. Okay. So yeah.
So far, does it still feel like a God of War game though? Like, is it sort of like this is the modern take of a God of War game, or are they actually trying something wholly new with the character?
Well, I mean, the fact that you've got this, so okay, the blades of chaos are gone and they've been replaced with this axe. And so because of that, things like opening up new areas and progression through the game with being able to use that axe to break open areas and whatnot, that is a little different. And here's a case where I was wandering around going, how am I gonna, I tried to get to that thing and I'm like, oh yeah, my axe, and where is it? Well, I had thrown it to get into the room and it literally stuck on the pillar when I threw it, and I forgot about it. Again, this is when I'm first starting out, right? So I'm like not used to it, and these runes that come up, they're different, and like there's definitely enough new stuff. You don't have to stand in front of anything and hold a button down for a long time to get it to come out. I mean, you actually have to do different things, and so it feels God of War-esque in the fact that there are some incredibly large monsters and things that you're going to come across. The set pieces are big, and there's a ton of carnage. And I mean, all that stuff is there. How you actually do it, the gameplay is definitely modernized. The controls feel good and natural, and I know, Sean, that's always a deal breaker for you.
Yeah.
You're going to love that, I think.
Awesome.
And it's just... I don't know what else I can say about it.
So in your opinion, it's getting 9s and 10s across the board. Is it worthy of the 9s and 10s it's getting?
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's the best game I've played so far this year.
I haven't been a huge fan of the God of War franchise. I've played, I think I played 2 and 3. I never finished them because I couldn't get into them because of the real-time events and stuff like that. But there's something about this one that makes me want to play it. It looks gorgeous. It looks like it plays really well. The combat, like, because the real-time events aren't there, it feels like a little bit better. It's more like, I kind of look at it as it's more like the combat from Shenmue, Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice. It's a little bit hack and slash, but not quite just button mashing. Right. So it looks doable, it looks fun, and it's gorgeous. And it's Christopher Judge, I noticed, is voicing Kratos. Did he voice him all along?
No, and what's happened here is as they've changed from a game with the Greek mythology going to now the Norse mythology, one of the things that is different, and especially on being on the PS4, and one of the things that they wanted to do was a lot of these games now rely more on actors for the motion capture.
Right.
And they didn't feel like the original actor was going to be able to do the acting part of it, and they wanted to they didn't want to have a disconnect between the voice and the physical actor.
That makes sense.
So that is why they decided to do a casting change.
Well, I like Christopher Judge. I mean, he's to me he's Teal'c from Stargate SG-1. Right, he played Teal'c for 10 seasons, so...
It overall, once you're playing the game, you feel like you're Kratos. Like it doesn't
He's got a good voice for him. I think the voice fits the character.
It's not far off. Now the only thing, like in this section here, you'll see me now starting to engage in some combat. The one thing that is both, I wouldn't say it's frustrating. There isn't really anything frustrating I found about this game. Is that you will at times, because of the camera there, for example, now there's a guy behind me that I didn't, I did sort of see him, but at the same time I was focusing on my son, making sure he was okay. Yeah. So I'm actually moving the camera here, and that's a little different, right? So you have to kind of get used to the fact that you could have, and you can kind of see that there's an indicator that there's an enemy coming towards you. And at first, I didn't pick up on that, so I found myself like a little bit in trouble because I had to sort of spin the camera around to see, and you can see me here sort of going, okay, is there anybody? Oh, there's somebody. So you kind of have to like manage that on your own while you're fighting here. But man, I gotta tell you, this combat is satisfying. And I mean, again, just look at the colors. Look at how, I don't know, like the particle effects, like, I can't help but look at some of the technical aspects of a game, unfortunately, being a programmer and being someone who's interested in the tech behind games as well as actually enjoying them. I can't help but be awed by just how much is actually going on here. And yet, some people are saying, well, it's not perfect. It's not 60 frames per second. It's a solid 30 FPS. I don't care about that stuff so much. I just want a good experience, and the slowdowns, especially on the Pro, are absolutely minimal. And so it doesn't take you out of the experience at all. In my opinion, I had no problems with how it worked.
That's awesome. I'm looking forward to playing it. It definitely, it's going to be a must buy for me sometime soon. Cool. So, Tycko,
yes,
you played a whole bunch of stuff.
Oh, small package of things.
Small package of things. So why don't you start us through your small package here?
All right. Well, I'll start with one I didn't capture video for because we have shown it before. But Hellblade, was it Senua's
Sacrifice?
Sacrifice.
You don't even know the name of the game.
Well, because she hasn't sacrificed anything yet. It's just,
She sacrificed her life. She's in the afterlife. She went to hell to save her husband.
Yeah, is it really that much of a sacrifice? I mean, it's pretty quiet and peaceful there. It's very pretty. It's not really.
Sounds like somebody's last week. I mean, for sure.
Yeah.
I just got a review code of this game. You played this on Xbox One, Tycko?
I played this on Xbox One.
This is new for Xbox One.
Yes.
If everyone doesn't know, this was a PlayStation 4 exclusive previously, and I just got a review code, disclosure here, myself, and I haven't had a chance yet to try it. I literally just got the code this morning. So.
It is very pretty. It is, like, again, Sean showed before, it looks fantastic on the One X. Really enjoying the way the story goes. I've been playing with headphones as it was recommended, because you sort of get that surround sound, the voices in your head.
It is a must.
Just the puzzles that they've done with, like, and they don't like nothing. Like, it doesn't say, hey, look through here or anything like that. You have to sort of figure out what's the puzzle, what's going on with this thing. You have to sort of figure it out. It's really, really, really unique, really interesting. I love how it doesn't give you any of those prompts.
Yeah, it's a great game. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I think is really kind of cool and should be pointed out is that Ninja Theory is donating money to mental health based on the sales. So they basically, they've sold 50,000 copies of the game. When they sold 50,000 copies of the game on Xbox One, they did donate $25,000 to Mental Health America. So,
which is awesome. Yeah.
So they and I'm not sure if that got doubled by today or not. The news on that hasn't been released yet, but I think that's a great thing that they're doing, and everyone should be aware of that if they do buy the game, that they will donate. So
yeah, it's really, and again, for that game on the Xbox, it was released, I think it's a sale price of Canadian $35.
It's a good
for a game that looks that
gold,
pretty. Like, that's a good deal. $39 if you don't have gold. It's a great price for a game that is that pretty. I was fully expecting the $70 price tag.
If you're like me and thinking that there's going to be a physical release of this game, because that was one of the things that a lot of people were saying, I'm going to hold out, because this is a little bit different than a lot of the download stuff. This is a AAA game. I mean, this is amazing looking. Ninja Theory, of course, an amazing developer, and I think if you're holding out for a physical copy, I mean, I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but I know for myself, it's not looking that it's going to. It may come out way in the future. I would say don't wait. Get the game now. Yeah. And I don't normally say that because you know that I'm, as a collector, I'm a physical game kind of game guy. So yes, I collect games. Oh. So I would say
he's got a couple of.
Didn't
games.
know that about you, Syd.
Don't hold out. Go get this game now. You can get it on any platform you want to play it on except the Switch, and just go get it.
Oh, it'll come to the Switch soon enough. You watch.
It will.
Everything else is coming to the Switch.
All right, so next game on my list, Bombslinger. So this is a, what is this, like 4.5-bit Bomberman. Oh, Jeff's not here. I don't have to go through that.
It's not a spiritual successor to Bomberman, is it?
It is basically it's a Western. You're avenging the death of your family. Basically, it is Bomberman set in an Old West sort of settings. You're avenging the death of your wife and child, and by planting bombs and blowing up bad guys.
So it's Red Dead Bomberman if it had come out.
Red Dead Bomberman.
If it had come out in 1985.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's fun. It's not a great game by any means. It is also a roguelike to that end too. So Sean's favorite, and this is not. This is more of the frustrating type where like you can die pretty easily, and it starts you back. Now you get to keep all of the bonuses and stuff like that you've unlocked, but
I've never been a Bomberman fan to begin with, so you're mixing Bomberman with 16-bit with roguelike. I mean, that's totally right up my alley, right?
Day one purchase for Sean.
Oh yeah, he's absolutely. Oh goodness.
Should we end the show now, Sean? So
I gotta go get this game.
I mean, it's a kind. I mean, the fact that this has come out right when they've announced a new Bomberman as well.
Of course.
I don't know. It's just okay. It's not great. The roguelike elements of it, I think, really take away from it. Like, I wish that because there's a story that you're trying to progress through, and if you die, you have to go back to the very start of like you're leaving your house. You can you start with one extra bomb or something like that. But yeah, I mean, it's just okay. It's just okay. All right, keeping with the Western stuff, a game called Western Press.
Yeah, this is you have to explain this game because I was watching the video you supplied and it looks like you're not doing anything.
So, this is a head-to-head dueling game, and what will happen is you will have a set of buttons and directional presses and stuff like that will show up on the left-hand side of the screen or right-hand side, depending on which side you're on, and you have to beat your opponent in entering those button presses.
So it's like a real-time event.
It is. It's basically it's a giant QuickTime event, about like 20 button presses.
It looked like the guy from Guacamelee there.
There is a luchador. There is a luchador character that you can you fight against or you can choose to be. There's a whole bunch of really interesting, unique characters. They're played out as cards. So when you're setting up the tournament, like the cards are dealt out, and that's who you face in the tournament.
So in the video right now, nothing is happening. Is the AI playing itself or something?
Yeah, so this is a 16-player tournament.
So you got a bunch of AIs playing against each other.
Something is happening. Tycko is trying to get an achievement. I can guarantee you.
Of course.
Yeah, so, okay, this is me playing. This is me playing here. I'm on the left. On the left. So let's see if I win. And I won. See, look at that.
Well, that's not good radio. So why don't you explain what's going on?
All right. Well, I did. Like, there's button presses. It's QuickTime event on the left. So it's a pistol duel, and there's directional and button presses on your side, and you have to enter those button presses before your opponent does.
And it looks like there's 10 of them. You have to hit 10 specified buttons in a row, and that could be the direction buttons or the face buttons.
Yeah.
In random order, and you have to hit them faster than your opponent.
Yeah.
So it's quick draw. It's literally quick draw with your.
It's quick draw
with your controller.
With a QuickTime event. Yeah. It's honestly, like, you'd think, no, this is stupid, but it's actually really fun.
Is it though?
It is. Why would I just say it's fun if it's not fun?
And it's also 16 bits, right up your alley.
Is there that many bits in it? Oh.
It certainly
Didn't
looks
they
like
come out with this on the Switch already?
I don't know. It could.
The Switch doesn't drag himself to these levels yet.
I don't know, that game that came out at the launch that everyone.
Oh yes.
Oh.
Well, yeah, they have their own quick draw game.
1-2 Switch here, yeah. This is.
Yeah.
All right.
Now, what's the price of this game, Tycko? Is this a full pricer?
No, it's like $5.
Oh wow.
That's why he bought it.
Does it offer full 1,000 gamer score?
It does offer a full 1,000 gamer score. I think I have like 600 or 700 of them already.
See, now we know why he bought it.
That's what explains.
You know what? Listen, I have a problem. We all know I have a problem.
That's okay.
Listen,
I just
I don't press the button.
There's value if it's an inexpensive game and you can get some gamer score out of it. That, in a sense, is part of a game. Listen, I've played through some pretty horrible games
it gives me something to talk about on the show because that's why I do it, Sean, for you. All right, Octahedron.
Bless you.
Yeah, yes. Right.
So this one here, and it's a very weird puzzler. You have to jump and hold buttons to create platforms to jump to the next section.
Oh, so it's Lightfall.
It looks like it kind of looks like Major Havoc and Robotron had a baby early on, and they stole some of the squares from Pac-Man. Like, it looks like some of the board levels of Pac-Man are all mixed in there together, but it's got the Robotron color scheme going on. It's got the Major Havoc,
very neon psychedelic.
Yeah.
It is a very weird game, and I know, like, I had actually grabbed the opening cinematic for this. I know you didn't use it because it was a short thing, but it was just the weirdest, like, story that's tied to this. This is a guy who has a glowing triangle for a head now for some reason. It was just a very odd.
Do you want the cinematic?
Do you have it?
I do have it. Keep talking about the game.
I'm going to continue. So. Well, now I feel all weird, but yeah. So you have to jump through and collect these flowers as you do it. It is just an odd game. It's
this is from Square Enix.
Apparently.
Is publishing this. Wow.
So it's like some really weird sort of film noir sort of opening, and it was just very odd. I'm like, that's why normally I don't bother with the opening scene.
Usually you also, I think this you paused at the beginning of this video for like a minute.
Well, maybe a minute.
So it's just a platformer? Like what?
It's just a platformer. Like, it's you jump and you create your platform, and you have to jump up and create your platform again, and then you can move the platform left or right to knock out these flowers. But I was really, because I'd seen this before I started. I watched a couple of the little trailer things and stuff like that, and so that's what you saw is what the gameplay is. But then you start the game, and it's this weird sort of like film noir in a cabin, desolate, setting. It does not look like it fits the game at all.
Kind of has nothing to do with the game itself, exactly. Yeah, which is really
it's like
weird.
This guy in a cabin. The fire goes out in his cabin. It's all black and white. And he walks into a cave there, and
suddenly a burst of color comes on the scene. See, there you go. There's the colors.
There's the octahedron. It takes over his body.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just a very weird tie-in to the opening thing. Yeah, it's a giant. It's like the thing from Sims, and all of a sudden it's there.
It's an octahedron. It's an eight-sided die.
Wow. Yeah.
So he becomes eight-sided die man.
Yeah, of course. All right, Tesla versus Lovecraft.
Okay, now this game looks fun. Finally, a game that looks fun, Tycko.
It is a twin-stick shooter, horde mode. What do you call it? Isometric? Is that what they call this thing?
Yes.
Isometric.
It's a top-down isometric.
Yeah, this looks fun.
Yeah, so you play as Tesla, the
electricity guy.
The electricity guy.
Yeah.
And he has a beef with H.P. Lovecraft for some reason. I don't know why. It seems like
we get a history lesson here while we're at it.
Those two should get along, but apparently no. So you are creating mechs and different weaponry to take out the hordes and hordes of Cthulhu-esque monsters and creatures and stuff like that Lovecraft keeps summoning to attack you. It's weird.
But it looks good. It looks good.
Yeah, no, it's very pretty. It is fun. You get special powers and stuff like that as you go through it. It's a fun game. You have like a little dash thing, so you can dash through solid objects like fences and stuff like that to get to other areas, and you just got to try to take out all the bad guys before they get you. And
there's a lot of bad guys from the video you're showing.
There is a lot.
Swarms.
Yeah, swarms and swarms and swarms of bad guys. You do get different weapons and stuff like that, so you have to figure, do I like the shotgun? Do I like the revolver? Do I like the machine gun? And they each have their own little quirks and stuff like that. There's a ray gun that bounces off stuff. And the idea is just to take out the things spawning all the Lovecraftian stuff before they take you out. And then you collect, as you're going through levels, you collect parts of your armor. So you pick like an arm, a leg, a headpiece, and everything like that, and then you basically get into a big mech. And so you got about 30-40 seconds of mech damage that you can fire off at these guys as well.
Do you eventually have to go up against Cthulhu?
You do. Well, you go after his minions first, but
of course.
I think it's H.P. Lovecraft like riding Cthulhu at the end or something like that.
Seriously?
I have no idea.
So are you actually playing Tesla?
You're playing as Nikola Tesla.
Nikola Tesla? Okay. Okay.
Now, did you get a review code on this, or did you push buttons on
I
this
pushed
one?
buttons on this.
And,
I did push buttons.
And what's this one currently going for?
Nine of them, I think.
Nine buttons?
9 monies.
9 or 10 monies.
Yeah.
Nine Teslas. And if you were to review this or score this, what would you give it? How many Teslas out of 10 would you give it?
I actually really enjoyed it. Probably about a 7. Seven
Teslas out of 12 Cthulhu's.
Yes, yeah. I had fun with it. It's a unique game. It is it's fun. It's I don't know. It's goofy. It's one of those ones you can sort of pick up and drop in really quickly, and then when you get frustrated with it, you put it down for a little bit.
Yeah.
And you can see that I started with my mech here.
Yeah.
You can play that in between sessions of God of War.
Yeah, well, like sometimes when you play like these super serious games and stuff like that, and you hit that point where you die like 3 or 4 times in a row, and something you get like, I'm frustrated with this game. I want something that I'm just is satisfying to kill like 100 things at one time. You play this for a little bit, then you go back to it, and then you sort of like, okay, yeah, that was where I was making my mistake, and you go back to your game that you're actually playing through a story.
That's cool. No, that one actually looks a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was.
It's only 9 or 10 monies. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah,
all right. Well, something I did this week. I actually went to Video Games Live on Monday night. They were here in Kitchener. It was their final Canadian stop, and apparently, Tommy Tillerico said that our Canadian stop, because I think it was the end of that tour, we were part of a Guinness Book of World Record, basically the longest running traveling orchestra or something like that, right? With 432 shows or something. I can't remember how he worded it. And then he went on to say, until our next show. So,
I was going to go to that show actually.
Oh, you should have gone.
But, yeah, I wish I could have, but I wasn't able to. But I'm glad you got to go. I mean, I've been many times myself.
Yeah.
But
this is my second time going, and it was fantastic. I don't remember the first time I went. It was probably about 8 years ago, which is when they were back. They were here in Kitchener for the first time.
I think that's the last time I went too.
Yeah. So, but I don't remember them last time having the video screens. Right, so now they have video screens up playing scenes from the games that they're playing the music from.
Oh, they've always had that.
Yeah, I don't remember it the first time. I just don't remember that from the first time.
8 years ago, Sean. You're old. It's hard to remember.
It is hard to remember stuff from 8 years ago, exactly. But I was able to film some of it. He basically says, you know what, film all you want, share it. I don't care. Just do what you want. We're breaking all the rules of the symphony. I want you to cheer. I want you to make noise. I want you to, I want you to film it and share it with the world. So I have a musical interlude for you here. This is Video Games Live from Kitchener on April 16th, and this is the music from Chrono Cross. All right, now we move on to the news. I just want to say one thing more: is Video Games Live is so much fun. It's hilarious. They've got great interludes with really funny. They put two video games together. Like one was Grand Theft Auto versus Frogger. Right, and it shows a Frogger screen, and all of a sudden Frogger shoots this missile through, blows up all the cars, grabs a car, pulls the guy out of the car, and then drives across and into his home. So it's like they just mash up these video games into this little 30-second thing, and it's hilarious. And then they also did a video of the worst video game titles in history, of which there were some doozies, let me tell you. But let's move on. Talking about older video games, Syd, are you a fan of the Shenmue series?
You know, I am. I actually, the first Shenmue I played on the original Dreamcast, it was really, you know, honestly, the first game I remember playing thinking, wow, I can't believe how immersive this world is. You know, it was interesting having conversations, walking around the world. I never did play Shenmue 2, but the first one I've always kind of wished I could go back and fully finish it because I didn't quite get to the end. So it's kind of interesting because, of course, for those that know, Shenmue 3 actually got kickstarted. It was one of those ones that...
it brought down Kickstarter when they announced it.
Yeah, I mean, it was, you know, I think at the time, and maybe now, you know, it's been like one of the largest, you know, kickstarted games. Yu Suzuki back at the helm, and interestingly, not Sega. So they did this independently. If people remember, the original Shenmue was very expensive for Sega, and because the install base of the Dreamcast wasn't really there, they never made money on this game, supposedly. I don't know in the end how it's all worked out since then, but certainly at the time, it was the most expensive video game that had ever been made. Didn't do the returns for Sega. So what's interesting about this announcement, so the announcement is that we all know that Shenmue 3 is coming. It'll probably be late, like all there to me, which, you know, don't get me wrong, I'm excited about this and great. And this is not, unfortunately, doesn't appear to be anything other than up-res versions. So I don't think they've gone back and redone textures or stuff, but it will let you play this on the PS. To see them do this because they are clearly, like, they haven't announced. If they were at the helm of number 3, it makes sense to re-release something ahead of time or whatever, but this is not the case. So it's kind of interesting to see Sega essentially cashing in on
somebody else's stuff.
Yeah. I don't know. I just thought that was an interesting thing to talk about, just because that, you know, it's coming out with. It's kind of interesting to see that this is happening with Sega, and of course that also, Sean, leads into our next news story.
Yeah,
which is also Sega
release Shenmue 1 and 2 HD remaster, releasing basically a mini Mega Drive, which in North America was the Genesis, right? So a mini, but this isn't the first time a mini Genesis has been made.
No, and not at all. But although one of the main differences here now this is not even true, because I guess the Sega, the latest flashback that has come out, I believe, also not been a hardware company, and they've clearly said that they're not making stuff anymore, and that is going to continue. What they're actually doing is getting At Games to produce this. Now, At Games has also produced the flashback version of the Genesis that's out currently. So the question is,
which did not do well.
No, and you know what? That thing has had sound issues.
Yeah.
It's not perfect emulation by any stretch of the imagination. Controllers are kind of cheap. You know, the type where you have to actually put the AAA battery. First of all, it's annoying as AAA batteries, but also none. You have to like actually use a screwdriver to take the back out and put the batteries, like one of those types of things. And you know, I'd use AA batteries just to actually make the controller a little heavier, to actually give it some weight, because sometimes a really light controller is not good.
Right, exactly.
Not used to it. So
why would Sega go to them? When they weren't really successful with the most recent flashback, right? With the issues you just mentioned, why would Sega go to them and say, you know what, go ahead and make a mini Mega Drive?
Well, I guess the question is is this product then with Sega working more closely with them? So normally what's happened is Sega has given their a licensing agreement and said, yeah, you can have our ROMs basically and put them into your device. Will Sega, who is officially releasing this thing, even though it's made by At Games, will this make the product better? Will they take the time to make sure that At Games is reined in a little bit and actually produces a better quality product at the level of what we've seen with Nintendo? Like, obviously Nintendo has produced a top-notch product. It's manufactured well. The games work perfectly for the most part. And overall, it's the quality that we've come to expect from Nintendo. Is Sega going to do that with At Games and make them produce a better product and work with them to make it perfect, or are they going to let them sort of just take what they've done and rebrand it? That's the big question. Yeah. I'm really hoping that they do produce a better quality product, and maybe that's what At Games need. Maybe they need the time and maybe the extra money or whatever, or even just the technical guidance maybe that Sega could provide. But I really hope Sega doesn't just release a subpar product this time around.
Not just a cash grab because everybody's buying up the Nintendo ones and they just want one that looks official.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the question is, I don't know if they've announced, is it even coming to North America as the Mini Genesis? It's only been announced for Japan as the Mini Mega Drive. Right. So we don't even know if it's coming here, and if it does, because we've already got the flashback. Like, it's out there on the market right now. You can get the Sega flashback, right, which looks like a Genesis, and I think it has more than just Genesis games, though, doesn't it?
Not the latest one. It's just no. I think you're right. Actually, I think it does have Game Gear games in it. It's definitely still Sega stuff, but it does. I think it has some Game Gear games.
It's all Sega, but it's not just. It's Game Gear. It's Genesis, and I'm not even sure if it has Saturn stuff on it or not.
No, I don't think anything has Saturn stuff on it. It might have Master System stuff on it.
Like, to be honest with you, if Sega were to release something, it should be a Dreamcast. That's what everybody would want.
But you start at the beginning, and then you work your way up. Then when this sells really well, then you.
But is Genesis the beginning? I don't remember. Is there anything before Genesis?
System.
The Sega Master System.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Which is their equivalent of the NES.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I don't think I've ever actually played. My introduction.
Not even at one of my game nights? No,
I don't think so.
Master System? I had one.
My introduction to Sega was the Genesis, and I had all of the Sega systems from Genesis on, but I never had a Master System, and I never knew anyone with one.
What about a Game Gear? You have one of those?
I wanted a Game Gear so badly. I remember
batteries
with a little TV adapter. That was so cool.
I remember. When I first got a co-op job in college, I'm like, the first thing I'm going to buy is a Game Gear. It never happened.
Well, just be glad. You'd still be in debt from all the batteries you would have had to buy.
Oh, I know.
That's true. That thing was awful that way. Ugh.
Oh.
6 batteries get you 20 minutes of gameplay.
So before we move on to the next article, which I'm going to leave up to Syd to talk about, I just want to give a shout out to those of us those watching. Brian Young is on, Juggler of Geese. Miranda was on watching us. Eric Glover, Brian Pope, and we got Northern Zoot is joining us.
Oh,
so
hey
thanks.
Brian, I see my friend Brian is on there.
Yes.
Good volunteer at the museum, and so I told him to tune in. So
Awesome.
Glad to see that he made his way onto the show.
Glad you're all watching. Keep up the talk there. I am watching it. If anybody says anything, I'll try to chime it in as I can. Okay, Syd, you put in an article here, how the makers of Mafia 3 lost their way, and this kind of reminded me of the story we talked about months ago about Mass Effect Andromeda, and how really they lost their way. Same idea. They had this idea, and like 2.5 years into development, they almost had to start again. Because they really just couldn't get their act together. They couldn't figure out what they were doing. It was a much bigger project to begin with, and they couldn't make it work. So this was a really long article.
Yes.
So go ahead.
And that's kind of what I wanted to sort of talk about too. Like this, I just wanted to point this article out because this is a Kotaku article. So if you want to read it, that's definitely where you want to go. This is just a well-written article. It's a like if you want to drop yourself into an interesting read about how video games are made, this is definitely a good one. The things that have happened with the studio have certainly happened with other studios. Obviously, things like bonuses tied to Metacritic scores.
Oh my gosh,
You're
yeah,
going
that
to
was
find out
horrible.
about those in here.
Yeah.
You're also going to find out about the technology and how sometimes the engine that the game is using can have a real big impact. And so they were using an evolved version of what they had used on Mafia 2, which does happen. And sometimes you wonder, how would the game have turned out if they had used a different engine, or if they'd used a more established engine? Something, a lot of companies use stuff like Unreal, for example, but in this case they were using this engine that was developed in the Czech Republic originally. And it's even talking about, it's interesting to read about how when they did sort of change the direction of the game, how you had basically English speaking people working with some of the original Czech developers, how there was some isolation within there with there's some cultural differences, and so how that stuff actually affects the game, and how when you're playing it, if you wonder why some parts of it feel disjointed, this is the reason why. And so it's interesting, especially either whether you read this article before you play it or after you've played it. It's kind of interesting to see how this development cycle and what problems they had can actually affect the final product. So I wanted to point it out because I think it's a great read just for anybody who's really interested in how video games are made, and how, you could play this game and not really, it's still, to me, it's still a good game. It's got problems, but most games do. But it's interesting to sort of get that insight into what's gone on behind the scenes.
It is a long read. They need a TLDR section. I started reading it at work the other day, and I'm reading, and then I look at my scroll bar, and I'm not even halfway through yet. And then it starts talking, and then it goes back to like 10 years ago, and like, oh wait, where's this article going? But it is a good read, I agree, but it is, be prepared to read this article.
It's an investment of your time.
It is a time investment, but yeah, I mean, we saw the same thing recently with Mass Effect, as we mentioned, 5-year life cycle, but the product we got was actually only developed over the course of 2 years, in this 5-year development time. And so they had to or was it even 18 months where they really crammed everything in the last minute? They had so much problems there. And was it Casey Hudson who left and came back to a company in turmoil, basically? So we've seen it before, and I'm sure we won't see it. I'm sure it won't be the last time we see stuff like this happen. It's such a tough industry, and it's only getting tougher. I think when you get these multi-million-dollar projects on the go, and so many people want to make the next greatest thing, there's so many things that can just go wrong. Yeah? Yeah. Okay.
Maybe. Yeah.
I said enough about this article, so I'm good. But yeah, like I said, check it out if you're interested at all at how games are made. You definitely want to. That's a good read. It's something good to just digest and get that good background on there. So the next article I thought was awesome. This just came out yesterday. Tycko and I have this game that we love playing. It's called Mansions of Madness, and I meant to have it here on my desk so I could kind of show you what this game is.
You got mine?
No, it's all cool. It's all good. Do you have it right there? You don't.
Well, it's in the cupboard. I can open the cupboard.
So Mansions of Madness is a board game where you actually have a companion app that tells you the story as you're going. It acts as sort of your game master, and you are one of up to 5 investigators in multiple scenarios. The board is built tile by tile as you investigate the area you're in, and there's multiple different stories that can be told. Yeah.
Cthulhu-esque
it's all
stories.
based, it's all Cthulhu-esque, Lovecraftian stories, and it's really good. It's so much fun. It's like playing a D&D game.
No Tesla though.
No Tesla in a Lovecraftian or Arkham setting. What's awesome is Mansions of Madness with Fantasy Flight Games, who by the way is one of my favorite board game developers. They are turning Mansions of Madness into a video game, which is going to be awesome, I think. The difference here is it's not multiplayer, as it's going to be a single-player experience where you control all 4 characters yourself, which I find kind of strange. It'd be interesting to play this multiplayer, even online or couch co-op, to where each of you take on a different character. But it is... I can understand why you wouldn't do that, because it's a turn-based game, right? Each person has specific moves they can make, and then it goes to the next character, and they make specific moves. So, you could do it. Obviously, they've played games like Monopoly, right? You make a move, and then it turns to the next person. So they could definitely make it multiplayer, but I kind of understand why they don't. But I am looking forward to this. If you've never seen Mansions of Madness or played it, if you know someone who does... check it out. It is an incredible game. If you are sort of into things like D&D, like these guided story mysteries, and working together as a cooperative experience, Mansions of Madness is absolutely fantastic. And there's lots of expansions. There's lots of stories. You can actually purchase... the main one comes with like 4 or 5 stories, and then you can actually purchase digital-only stories that add on to it. You can also buy physical expansions that give you a couple more stories as well.
Big box physical expansions, like huge box expansions.
Well, the expansions are actually not as big as the main game, but yes.
Well, no, but it's a big box.
And what I love about the board game is it's actually miniature-based. So all the creatures that come out on the board and your characters are actually miniatures, like plastic miniature figures that come out onto the board, right? Yeah. So it's not just tokens, it's actual creatures that you're putting on. And if you're into painting, you can paint those creatures like you would a miniature. So yeah, that's coming as a video game, and I'm looking forward to that big time.
Yeah, cool.
And another thing I'm looking forward to, of course, was it about a month ago, I'd say, the Station came out. Was it a month and a half ago?
A month and a half,
We talked about the Station. Of course, we had Kevin Harwood, the creative director of the game, on the show. And we asked him then about VR, and he kind of hinted that maybe it's coming, because Tycko and I agreed this is a perfect game for VR because it's a walking simulator. Perfect game to experience in VR.
I think we said that it should be, and then he went and made it because we said it. So I take this as another win for the show.
Absolutely.
Another win for the show.
It is because we
also
asked
easy
for
to get
it.
those achievements, Tycko.
Yes.
I have the full 1,000 in that one.
Tycko doesn't have VR.
I got to play that one.
Yeah. Tycko won't be able to play it in VR. He has an Xbox.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying in general as a walking simulator, those are some of the best ones for achievement hunters.
Oh yeah,
yes, they are.
I've got,
or trophy hunters.
Trophy hunters. So anyway, the Station has announced it is coming to VR in Q3 2018. It's coming to PlayStation, Vive, and Oculus. So it is definitely coming out. You can explore, and they've just released, I think, to Steam. I think it's coming later to console. They've just released what they call roaming mode, free roam. So all the doors are open. You don't have to play through the story. You can just roam through the station. Every door is open. You can go and experience the entire station and just kind of roam around and check things out, which is kind of cool as well. That's another thing that would be cool in VR, is just roaming around the station, looking at everything, picking stuff up and looking at it in 3D, because you can already do that in the game. You can pick up the stuff and kind of rotate it around and look at it. It would just be that much more fun an experience in VR with the full 3D effect,
Yeah.
So
nice.
Yeah. So that is that's pretty much it. That's all we had on our plate today.
That's the whole show.
That's
it?
No, Tycko, stop talking. You talk too much.
Tycko.
But Syd, you have something you want to tell our audience. So why don't you?
I do.
You have the floor once again.
Do. Yep. So, it's kind of appropriate that Northern Zoot is watching. So, hey, Jess, good to see you, that you're tuning in, because I am actually going Northern. And also another shout out to Brian, who is watching as well, because next weekend, so that's the April 28th and 29th, we are heading to Sudbury. So that's pretty north from where I normally am. It's a good 5-hour drive, I think. And we're going to the Northern Game Expo. Ooh, and cool. This is an interesting, for people that love to buy their video games on the Sunday. There's going to be a major swap meet. So if you're looking to pick up some, retro games or even some more modern games, there's going to be all kinds of vendors there. Runs from 11 to 5. NorthernGameExpo.com is the website. But on the Saturday, there's actually a chance for people to come hang out with me for a couple of hours. I'm doing a VIP event there where I'm going to be actually bringing some of my more unique video game pieces.
Are you the VIP?
I am the VIP, so if you want to come in and talk to me, and I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to do a special on Canadian-made video games, so I'm going to be talking about that, and I'm also going to be bringing pieces from my video game collection that I don't normally let the public have access to. And you're actually going to be able to play. So while you're there, maybe picking up some retro games, you'll also be able to play some retro video games. So we are taking, we're taking a cube van down. So this isn't just a few things in the back of my car. This is a cube van. So this is a big amount of stuff. So some things that maybe you haven't had a chance to play. So, I'll give you an example. The Amiga CD32 is going to be there. The Game Wave, which is the only Canadian-made video game console, is going to be there. I'm going to bring a CD TV. So if you've never played a video game on a CD TV, you're going to get a chance to do that. And also the developer version of the CDI system we have. So those are just 3 little examples of the types of things that you'll be able to play. You'll also have some traditional retro games just for the average person that, maybe doesn't get a chance to play retro or has gotten rid of their retro stuff. But yeah, and I think the Canadian video game stuff is going to be there. And I'm going to be talking about, it's interesting, there's some stuff in video game history for Canada that's very specific about sort of, who made the first early commercially successful video games. And believe it or not, through my research and stuff that I've been doing lately, I may be turning the Canadian video game scene a little bit on its head. So the things that we have believed to be, it's not that they're not true, but sort of the timeline of who we think has developed some of the earliest successful Canadian video games, I may be turning that on its head. So you get a preview of that up at Northern Game Expo, and I'll be announcing more of that as time goes on.
And when is this?
This is next week. This is April 28th and 29th. Okay. NorthernGameExpo.com in Sudbury, Ontario. So if you're anywhere north of Toronto in that area or close by, please make sure you drop by. The tickets to get into the main show are very inexpensive. I think it's only $5. And if you want to come to the special VIP event where you can spend a couple hours with me, that's $30. But you do get access to the show the next day in the VIP line. You get some other free stuff too. I'm actually going to be giving away some video games and some other goodies, so it's definitely good value.
Wait, so are you telling me I owe you $30 now for having you on the show?
Well, I was only on for an hour, not 2, so it's only 15.
Okay, good.
Sean, we'll go halves on it.
We'll go excellent. Yeah.
Right. My PayPal account is tied to my my video game account, so that'd be great.
Excellent. Well, that is it for episode number 292. I can't believe we're only 8 weeks away from the epic 300. I, of course, am Ziantane. That is XIANTAYNE. Our show notes and all the links of everything we talk about is at omgnexus.com, and on Twitter we're at OMGNexus. Syd, our gaming archaeologist, thank you so much for joining us, for being our Jeff today. You can follow Syd at Syd Bolton, and that is Syd with a Y. Don't forget, if you are listening to us on our podcast, come watch us Thursdays 6 p.m. on YouTube at youtube.com/OMGNexus, and give us a like, subscribe, and comment. And thanks to everyone who's been watching us today. That's awesome to see a nice big crowd in there.
Yes, excellent. You can follow me on Twitter at Mr. Second Place.
We can feel you on Twitter?
You can feel me on Twitter, too.
That hasn't been released yet.
That's a different version.
Send me a DM. We'll make arrangements. Or you can just follow me at Mr. Second Place on Twitter. You can follow the show on Twitter at the OMG Hour.
Excellent. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Syd, thanks again for joining us. We'll all be back. Well, Syd may not be back. We'll see if Jeff's back next week. We're not sure yet. So, thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Night, everybody.
Bye, guys.
This has been an OMGNexus.com production.